Took me a little bit to get to this video, mostly because I was out of town working and not in a environment that was conducive to hard thinking. Mostly had to compartmentalize, put it in a box, get work done. You know, keep keep the crying and anxiety and frustration confined to only in private moments. But in that time spent away from the internet, away from, um, you know, people, I had the opportunity to think and really think. And I realized that I had actually not taken my own advice when it came to just like friendships, relationships, and things like that, which is if it's not your story, don't talk about it. If it's not about you, if it's not something that you experienced, don't talk about it. And the part of my tweet where I said that some sort of incident happened at an event in a hotel room between a bunch of dudes. I've heard many different stories, and I don't know what's true anymore. I don't know if it's true, but I wasn't there. Regardless of how it affects me or how it makes me feel, I wasn't there. It wasn't my story. It wasn't my story to tell. What was my story was the treatment that I had received, what I thought I had received from Jared over the last couple of years. And it was a series of just, like odd happenstance where it's just like someone seems really cold to you or really rude, distant. Just like it didn't feel like there was very much respect in some of the instances where I interacted with him. And people who've met me in person know that I try my hardest to be as accommodating as I can. I want people to feel comfortable and happy. I never want to make anybody feel uncomfortable or make them feel like they're attacked or anything like that. So, you know, um, I tried really hard to be nice and patient, understanding, but I kept getting what I perceived as cold behavior that just kept repeating. And so, over time, it stacked up like these little tiny instances that weren't necessarily bad. They're nothing to talk about, whether it be me walking up to a group of friends and he walks away, or, but just little things like that kept stacking up. And the more I thought about it, the more it bothered me. And then eventually I heard this story about an instance of something happening in a hotel room where, pictures of mine were shared between or shown to people. And I understand that, part of me being a playmate and my history, my career as a model, that's going to happen. I can't fault anybody for seeing nude images of me. But that was a different me. And I made sure to make a point to Playboy and a lot of the people that I worked with, my friends, my family. I made a point to be like, there is a hard difference between Gamer Pam and Playmate Pam. And I had worked really hard with the companies that I, connected with and networked with over the period of time since Gamer Next Door had become my baby. I was, I wasn't like creative director, but essentially when Gamer Next Door first started out, when it was owned by Playboy Enterprises, I was essentially in charge of all content. It was a brand based around my personality. And although Playboy wanted me to come at it at the sexy angle and wear low cut shirts and things like that, I knew that I wouldn't be taken seriously in gaming if I was objectifying myself in close association with Playboy. I mean, it's just, I can't tell you how many times I've had someone, tell me, I made a snap judgment about you because I found out that you were Playmate or that you worked for Playboy or whatever, because I just thought that you were using gaming or that you weren't actually a gamer, or, I seriously, over the last 7 to almost 8 years of my life now, I have had so many people apologize to me for making that snap judgment. And so at the point where the supposed event had occurred, I was very proud because it was the first time that a company had invited us out to do media coverage of a game, like media coverage, not like some weird partnership where we have to take pictures next to it in lingerie, or, like it was basically this company saying, like, we take you seriously. We understand that you're passionate. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal to me. And I'm still very proud of the event that I went to and how I covered it. And Amelia and I worked really hard on it, and we were very excited. And, when you combine that pride, and then the actions that seemed incredibly disrespectful, with the story that at this event, where I was excited to be there to show my merit and show my worth as a gamer based on respect and passion, and not just because, boobs, to find out that people that I had grown close to supposedly had shared images of me, and kind of like a middle school, like, ha ha ha, boobs way, like it felt disrespectful to that moment. But, reflecting on it now, it's like, that wasn't my story. Whether or not it's true, I'll never know if it's true or not. I won't ever know if it's true. But, it's not my story to tell, and I shouldn't have said anything. And I don't have to apologize to the public, because the person that it hurt was Jared. And I actually, the moment that Jared's video came out, the first thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to talk to him, because obviously we had two different sides of the story that did not line up. And so I FaceTimed him and I talked to him, and we actually went through all of these instances where I thought that I was being disrespected and mistreated, or just, played out being cold. And what we communicated and what we figured out was that I was just essentially collateral damage to an overarching problem that had nothing to do with me. It was not any part of my life. It was not any part. It wasn't any of my business, but it just so happened that the things that had happened to me had nothing to do with our friendship or our acquaintanceship, or whatever you want to call it. Like, us knowing each other was not, weighed down by any sort of disrespect or dislike of each other, as far as, right now, as far as it is right now. I understand what it's like to, you're dealing with something, and it's causing you a great deal of stress, a great deal of pain. Sometimes the people around you see that, that effect, or see and feel that effect. And I, of all people, should understand that because of all the stuff that I've been through over my entire life. Sometimes the people closest to you get hurt. Sometimes people you don't even know get hurt. And people who don't know you that well don't really, have that ability to openly communicate. Like, if it's an acquaintance that you don't really know that well, you're not really close with them, and you feel like their behavior is hurting you, you can't just be like, hey man, we're real tight, let's talk about how this makes me feel. Looking back now, I wish that I had talked to him about it, but with all of the stuff that was going on, it became overwhelming, and I should have thought more before I said anything. Now, my intention of making that tweet was not to assassinate anybody's character. I thought I was taking a stand for someone who needed support. I shouldn't have said anything. It wasn't my place. It wasn't my place, and I shouldn't have said anything. And any and all issues between Jared and I have been resolved. I can't speak to anything else in the situation. It's not my place. I had no interactions other than what I talked about. I can't speak to anything else, but Jared and I worked out what those miscommunications and misinformation was, and I apologized to him, which was the important part for my actions, and he apologized to me, and we ended that on a good level. Like, we we understand each other. And one of these instances that was kind of lumped into this was at E3 one year. I think word got around that I claimed something happened on a panel that I was on with him, which is not true. I never claimed I was on a panel with him. I did say that it was before a panel, but I did not do a panel with him. I did not confuse him for Kyle, because I know Kyle, if you go back and you look at any of the game trailers, videos I've worked with Kyle before, I'm not on Easy Allies, but when he was on game trailers, he wasn't on a panel with me. It happened before the panel. Someone got that information and it was misconstrued. I never said that I was on a panel with him. I said it happened before a panel. Even then, I worked through that with Jared. So I understand, and I apologized, and really that's who deserves it. My actions caused him, even if in the grand scheme of things, a small amount of pain. It's pain that he shouldn't have received from me. I shouldn't have said anything. And as for, like I said before, I don't know if the thing that I said is true or not. I really don't. I seriously doubt that I will ever know. I probably will never know, and I can't worry about it because I wasn't there, and I can't keep, mulling over it inside my head. I have to do what I can to be the best version of myself and grow and maintain strong relationships with, friends and family and people who are very close to me, and do my very best to communicate with people. And, the strongest aspect of all of this is communicating and, maintaining respect and trying to take a moment to understand the perspective of the person who's on the opposite end of what you're doing. Whether it be comments, tweets, accusations, and things like that, I think it's really important to take time to understand what that person is going through, because, like I said before, you don't have to agree in order for it to be something that you can wrap your brain around. Like, I understand your perspective. I don't agree, but I understand. And it was one of those fluke moments where I didn't take my own advice. So I'm kind of just saying the same thing over and over again, but it's true. I feel better because I've talked to Jared about it, and this is all I'm ever going to say about the subject. There's nothing more to say about the subject. And, at least in the part of, what I contributed and what was said about me. I completely understand if you don't see, or if you don't feel any level of respect towards me because of that, because of my actions. I totally understand that not everybody's going to like you. But I kindly request that if you don't like me, instead of just wishing harm on me, be constructive with how you talk to me. I firmly believe that if you want to grow as a person, you need to listen to constructive criticism, and I'm always down to hear about how I can make myself better every day, in every way that I possibly can, because life's too short to not be the best version of yourself and to not, be happy, and being the best version of yourself and and listening to yourself is required for that. So, you know, you can listen to my words or you could not. It's really up to you. But I've said my piece, and I hope that puts out the fires that have ignited in other people's lives or on the internet as best as I can. But just, in closing, just be nice. People are so mean to each other. The world is such a horrible place sometimes, and bad shit happens, and you really got to be there for each other. And I will work harder to do that every day. Thanks.